All right, let's jump right into it. We are tackling a question that so many young Singaporeans have. How in the world do you buy a BTO flat when you or your partner are still a student or serving in NS? We're going to break it all down and show you how that dream can actually become a reality.
I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? You know you want to build a future together, but maybe your bank accounts right now don't exactly look mortgage ready. It's a question that's full of hope, for sure, but also a ton of uncertainty.
Well, here's the good news. The answer is a huge, emphatic yes. HDB actually has specific policies that are designed for your exact situation. So let's walk through exactly how this journey works, step by step.
So you might be asking, how is this even possible? Well, it all kicks off with one really important foundational scheme. This right here is your gateway. It's called the Fiancé/Fiancée Scheme, and it's basically HDB's way of officially recognizing your commitment to each other. It lets you apply as a family nucleus even before you're legally married. Think of it as the key that unlocks the entire homeownership door for young couples, because, without it, you'd be waiting until you're 35 to apply as a single.
Okay, so, of course, there are some ground rules. Most of them are pretty straightforward. One of you has to be a citizen. Both of you need to be at least 21. Now, here's the big commitment. You must get legally married within 3 months of picking up your keys. And pay attention to that income ceiling. $14,000 a month might sound like a lot right now, but applying early gets you in the door before your future salaries could potentially price you out.
But look, being eligible is one thing. Having the income is a whole other story. This next policy is the absolute game changer for student and NSF couples. It's what makes this whole plan actually work.
And this is the logical problem, right? Housing grants, home loans, they're all based on your income. So if your income is basically zero or close to it, how on earth can you possibly get any financial help?
The answer is something called the Deferred Income Assessment, or DIA. You can almost think of it as HDB looking at you and saying, hey, we get it. We trust you're going to be earning money later. It lets you book your flat now, but they push the whole income assessment for grants and loans way down the road, to just before you collect your keys. This gives you years to graduate, start your careers, and actually build an income.
Now, you really need to pay close attention here because there is a huge game-changing rule update coming. It used to be that both of you had to be a full-time student or NSF. But starting from July 2025, that rule gets relaxed, so only one of you needs to be. This is a massive deal that's going to open the door to so many more couples whose career paths just aren't perfectly in sync.
So here's how it works in practice. It's pretty simple. Step 1, you apply for and book your flat. Step 2, HDB just automatically puts your income assessment on hold. You don't even need to do any extra paperwork. Step 3, that gives you the entire construction time, maybe 3 to 5 years, to finish your studies, complete NS, and get your careers going. And finally, Step 4, the financial check-in only happens at the very end, about 3 months before you get your keys.
Okay, so you know you're eligible. Now we get to the part everyone really worries about. The money. Let's break down the grants, the loans, and that big, scary word, down payment.
Because of the Deferred Income Assessment, you're faced with a really interesting strategic choice. See, since your income gets assessed in the future, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to decide what's more important. Is your goal to get the biggest possible grant to lower your total debt? Or is it to qualify for the biggest possible loan so you can afford a larger flat?
And here's that trade-off in black and white. The main grant, the EHG, is totally tied to your income. So if your combined household income is assessed at, say, around $5,500 when you get your keys, you could get a $55,000 grant. Pretty sweet. But if you both land great jobs and your income shoots past $9,000, that grant money, it drops to zero. So a higher future income gives you more borrowing power, but it eats away at your grant. This is a really important conversation the two of you need to have.
Your loan choice makes a huge difference to your upfront cash. With an HDB loan, the 20% down payment can usually be paid entirely with your CPF. That can mean zero cash out of your pocket. A bank loan, on the other hand, always requires at least 5% in hard cash, which can be a massive hurdle. And you have to remember this golden rule. You can always refinance from an HDB loan to a bank loan later on, but you can never go from a bank loan back to HDB. It's a one-way street. All of this really leads to a pretty clear conclusion from most young couples. Taking the HDB loan first is just the most logical, risk-reducing strategy. It helps you get over that initial cash down payment problem, and it gives you stability and flexibility for whatever comes next.
And HDB makes it even easier. If you're using that Deferred Income Assessment, you can also use the Staggered Downpayment Scheme. This is great. It means your initial down payment when you sign the lease agreement gets slashed in half. So for a $400,000 flat, that's the difference between needing $20,000 and just $10,000. That is a huge boost to your cash flow when you need it most.
So the path is there. The schemes are available. But that brings us to maybe the most important part of this whole discussion. We've talked all about the how, but now we really need to talk about the should you. Let's get real about the risks and the rewards.
The pros, they're really compelling, right? You lock in today's price against inflation, you dodge that future income ceiling trap, and that waiting period becomes a sort of forced savings window. But the cons? They are serious. We're talking about the massive risk of a breakup, committing to a huge loan when you're not sure what you'll be earning, and being locked in by that 5-year MOP.
And look, we have to be blunt here. While a breakup is emotionally devastating, the financial fallout from canceling a BTO can be just as painful, with consequences that last for years.
These penalties escalate very quickly. If you cancel after you book but before you sign the main agreement, you lose your option fee. That's up to $2,000. But the real hit comes if you cancel after you've signed that agreement. You will forfeit 5% of the flat's purchase price. On that $400,000 flat, that's a $20,000 loss. Gone.
And on top of losing cash, there's this hidden penalty, a kind of soft ban. If you get invited to select a flat, but you turn it down, or if you cancel after booking, you lose your first-timer priority for an entire year. In today's competitive BTO market, being treated like a second-timer effectively puts you at the back of the line. It can seriously derail your future housing plans.
So we end with this final thought. The system is there. The government has created a clear path so that you can buy a home early. The policies exist. But the real question here isn't about eligibility. It's about maturity. It really shifts the focus from the policy to your partnership. Is your relationship truly ready for what is one of the biggest financial and emotional commitments you will ever make together? That is the question that only the two of you can answer.